Hi, Flosstube. So a lot of you from Instagram is probably wondering why on earth that I'm even on here this evening. Um, you all know that my husband is in the hospital. But I just thought I'd take a break and just jump on here because I've already said thank you on Instagram, but I want to personally say it. Thank you to everyone. I know my husband appreciates it, and I appreciate, along with everyone else, all the positive thoughts and all the wonderful prayers that you have sent up for him. I believe in the power of prayer, and I believe that God sends his angels to um, watch over us in our time of need. And I know that my husband has one with him right now. But I spent a good part of the day there at the hospital. I actually took today off. My break was over yesterday. I did go to work. My boss let me off early. So I came home, did a couple things, got my son, and we took off and went and saw him. But just to catch you up and to let people know who don't follow me on Instagram or are not on Instagram, my husband's in the hospital with pneumonia. Now, most of you know who watch me know that my husband went to Hermiston, Oregon, and we're in Salem, Oregon, to work seasonal for UPS. And he came home for Christmas weekend, and we spent Christmas Eve, all of us together, and he left Christmas Day because he had to work that night. And we're 3.5 hours away. So when he left, he felt a little something coming on, and he thought he was getting a cold. I sound like I have a cold, but I don't. I've been outside going from the parking garage to the hospital and then coming back through. When I'm in the cold, it makes my nose run. Always has. So just so you know, you're probably going, don't be around him if you're sick. I'm not sick. So, but anyhow, he went back to Hermiston, and in a couple days he sent me a message saying I may be coming down with pneumonia again because he got pneumonia about 4 years ago or so. He said I either have that or I have bronchitis, coughing up a little bit of blood. And I said, well, maybe you should go in, get that looked at. And no, I have to work. So I kept calling, FaceTiming, messaging, how are you doing? How's your cough? You really should get it looked at. And then we started thinking that perhaps it was this bad cough going around. Our son had it. He had it for about a month. He was over it by the time my husband got here. But his friend, my husband's friend, has it or had it. He hadn't been around her. A friend of mine, she knows somebody who had it. So even though my husband specifically weren't around these people, he's still around people. And with the Christmas holiday, he was in and out of stores. And people just have to cough next to you in the same aisle you're in or the same line you're in. And you will breathe it in. So we thought maybe that's what it was. He was getting like, I don't know, Robitussin or whatever, cold medicine. He was getting cough drops, Halls, and he had pneumonia. But it was really different. It was really strange. It wasn't like the one he had before. So finally he contacted me. He had Thursday off, and so he just slept and slept and slept, and he couldn't get enough, and he tossed and turned and was restless. And then on Friday morning he woke up, and he contacted me and said, I just woke up in a pool of sweat and I can't breathe. I need to go to urgent care. I FaceTimed him, and he was breathing like, just really shallow. And so I said, well, then you need to go. You should have gone, I said, when I told you on like Wednesday. So he finally went. His breathing, they couldn't even help him there in urgent care. They tested his breathing, and normally it's 95 to 100. His was like 70, or not 70, sorry, 82, 83, something like that. And they said, you need to go to the ER right now. We cannot help you. This is serious. So he went to the ER and they admitted him. So they admitted him. They started running tests. They gave him oxygen. By then he was down into the high 70s, I believe. And when he'd get into a bad coughing fit, it would go to like 71. And then the test came back, couldn't figure out what it was. The doctor was concerned that he had a blood clot that came loose to, sorry, I held my dog for a while, and I feel like I have fur up my nose. The doctor thought a blood clot had broken loose from his leg and went into his lung, because it has very similar symptoms. So they did a CAT scan. It wasn't that, but they found a lot of fluid in his lungs. And finally the doctor there said, there's nothing we can do here. It's a small town hospital. We do not have the specialists. We need to transport you somewhere. This is serious. You could die. Told my husband there's no other choice. So by then I was in Hermiston. My oldest son took me there in my car, visited his dad for a while, got in my husband's car and drove it back here to the house. So we at least got one vehicle here. Our RV is still in Hermiston. The people who managed a lot parked it in, I think, a storage unit and was like, don't worry about it. We've got it taken care of. He just needs to worry about getting better. So they're pretty great people. But my husband said, if you're going to transport me home. At least my wife will be close to the hospital where I'll be. So Salem Hospital said they would take him, they'd have a room, and that they had everyone that they needed as far as specialists go. That's where he is now. Since then, since he has arrived on Sunday, it is now Wednesday, he has a tube down his throat. My brain is just, you know, I can't tell you how tired I am. Respirator. I knew it started with an R. So many words going through my head. He's on a respirator just to help him to breathe, so his lungs doesn't have to work so hard. So he had one x-ray done in Hermiston one day, one done the next day. It was getting worse, and that's when the doctor said, you need to be moved immediately. He had one x-ray done at Salem, and then yesterday he did another one. They did another one a day apart. It was getting a little worse. Not a whole lot, but a little. Today they did another x-ray, and even though it's not getting better, it's no longer getting worse. They have ran all kinds of tests. They put him on the respirator. Well, they were initially going to do it because that's how they were going to go down and get a sample and then check his airway. But his oxygen went down to 44 to 45. And basically at that point, his body would have been tired. It would have given out. The nurse said it would have stopped. It wouldn't have been able to fight any longer. She said, so we had to incubate him, if I said the word right, by putting a respirator down into his lungs to breathe for him so he wouldn't have to labor so hard. Now they're keeping it there. They did suction it all out, but, you know, it kept producing some because they weren't getting the right antibiotic, because they can't figure out what kind it is. They were testing it for tuberculosis, for bronchitis, for strep. The specialist was asking me, was he hauling livestock? Has he been around any wild birds? Has he been in California where he breathed in any of the smoke? The air quality in California from the fires is really bad. They're trying to narrow it down. He was in an isolated ward, or in an isolated room. We couldn't walk in without a mask because they didn't know if it was airborne, and they couldn't risk it spreading and getting loose. I mean, they had to take precautions. Since then, it's none of those things, and it is not airborne. And they discovered that through testing, it is here I am having a hard time with words again. I can't think of the word now. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm listening to doctors and specialists, and I'm just kind of like trying to process all of this. But it is not airborne. It is just, it's something that he breathed in, but not breathed in from somebody that's contagious. There's a word for it, and I'm sorry. I just told everybody what it was because I was messaging everyone. But it is a type of bacteria that it's just growing, but it's not contagious at all, so we no longer have to wear masks, not unless we think we may have a cold or something. So fungus, it's a fungi that's growing in his lungs. That's the word I'm looking for, fungus. So now they just need to narrow down what kind it is. So they did a broad spectrum antibiotic. And then everything that came back negative, they were able to reduce it more. Trying to get to the point where they were fighting exactly what it is. So now, knowing it's not airborne, knowing what type of pneumonia it is, that's why I think it's no longer getting worse, because the antibiotic is being narrowed down so much, which is what they need. So now they're just waiting to see what kind it is, what caused it, what he breathed in. Once they find that out, and that test is coming back so slow, but they warned me it takes days because they are testing for so many things. They had no clue. They've never dealt with this kind of pneumonia before. The specialist said, I've never dealt with this. But we do have the technology. We do have the information. We do have the expertise to deal with it. It's just a matter of the testing. And then we will know what to do. And he's got excellent care. He can't talk, not with a respirator down. Yesterday they did put a feeding tube down so that he can get some energy and strength. He's on IV fluids. It looks scary. It looks terrifying. But yesterday he was in good spirits. He was joking around with my son. They were doing it looked like charades, and my son was like, I got this. He could figure it out. He said, I know what Dad's saying. And my husband would write, and sometimes his writing you couldn't figure it out because his eyes look really huge when he'd open them, and it always looks like he's forcing them open, like his body doesn't want to, and he's making them. And then he tries to write, and sometimes you can make it out, sometimes you have to figure it out. But today he wasn't quite as active, and the nurse said if he was that active yesterday, then it took a lot out of him and his body needed to rest, because in the afternoon they don't put him on much sedation, just to kind of help him to not feel so drugged all the time. And then yesterday they had to up his oxygen a little bit. Today they were able to lower it a little bit. His blood pressure is good. It was either too high or dropped way too low. Now it's staying stable. And it's all an answer to prayer. It really is. So that's what's going on with him. That's what's going on with me. So you can imagine, I don't get a lot of stitching done. And what little bit I do in the evening, just kind of relax. And just, I can't say get my mind off of it, because you can't. But basically just sit back and relax a little bit. I do a little stitching, but it's not much. And it's understandable, right? So yeah, I'm just taking a break, and when I'm done with this video, I'm going to call the hospital and see if they sedated him at all, because yesterday around this time they did. And so I waited pretty close to an hour, and then I went home because he didn't even know anymore that I was there. I got some rest. I am working tomorrow. I talked to him about it, and he gave me thumbs up that I should go ahead and go to work. I don't work that many hours. I may or may not get off early. I did get off early Monday, or I'm sorry, Tuesday when I went back to work. But quite frankly, I went back to work because you have to work the day before and the day after holiday to get holiday pay. And the fact is, I'm the only one working. And my husband just needs to worry about getting better. He has no sick time. It was his last day. He was seasonal. He didn't get any of that. So, it's me. He does have a bonus coming. They said he is definitely getting that. He's got a paycheck that he was too sick to go get. I just contacted them and said, could you just mail it? But, you know, I just kind of, I want to do my part. I want to be there and help him, but I also don't want him to stress too much so that we have absolutely nothing coming in. So I, you know, like I said, I talked to him about it and said, you know, I can take the day off, or I can go ahead and go to work and get some hours in, and he gave me thumbs up to go to work. So, and then I will come home, give my Rico here his medicine, take care of them for a few minutes, a little bit, and then I head up there and I stay there until dinner time, and that's what I do. That's what I do. That's what you gotta do, right? I did make an order from 123 Stitch before all this happened. That's about the only thing. And I got poinsettia place. There's only a few of these I don't have. Don't know if I'll be buying any more anytime soon. I was going to start getting them all. And then I did grab some floss. Toffee. And this is floss for these Santa villages. And I already had some. And this is Shutter Green. I got the floss that I needed for the next few charts. And this is hazelnut. This one here goes to Poinsettia Place, I believe. And then, whoa, almost dropped that one. I got the heart. This one for the Christmas tree farm. And I got the little bird. I don't remember what one that one's for. Is that for what I'm stitching now? I don't remember. And this is the wreath for the elves workshop. That was my haul. Pretty exciting, right? I did get my fabric. I don't remember if I showed that to you or not. For my Santa and the Bear. So yeah, I'll go ahead and show that to you. This is what I've been working on, and then that's about it. Kind of wanted to do this. I don't remember if I said this or not, but I didn't want you to think that, oh, there she is, hardly ever making a video again. Kind of have a reason for it now. But this is Santa and the Bear, and I'm working on the bear. I'm on at this part right here. This whole hump on top of the bear's head. And this is Santa's Great Book. Leisure Arts. Leisure Arts Best. So I was supposed to purchase this fabric quite a while back, right? And I just totally slipped my mind. It was just gone in a second. Whoa. Uh-oh. I'm totally stuck here. I don't know why. It just was. And I got on Tuesday morning and frantically ordered it, freaking out that it wasn't going to be here in time for Christmas. Thought, well, when it comes here, I'll start it. Friday, before Christmas, I decided to check on the shipment, and it said it was sitting in my mailbox. I couldn't believe it. That's how fast 123 Stitch shipped it out. But that's how much I got. I actually got quite a bit. This is B5200 in place of just regular DMC white, because I just love that B5200. It lays nicer. It lays nice and flat. Don't know if you can see that. It's brighter, and I really like it on this navy fabric. This is a 28, no, sorry, it's not 28 count. 25 count navy Lugana. And needs to be a pretty decent size. But it is, I think, if I remember right, let me make sure. Yeah, it is. I knew I was doing 3. I couldn't remember which one. It is 3/2. I stitched, oh, what did I stitch? About three stitches of 2/2. Took it out, realized they said 3/2 for a reason. Being navy, it really needed the 3. And as it is, you can see in a couple spots, it's really bugging me, that you can see a little of the blue. Like, there's this spot. Wow. Didn't even realize it. Looking through here. Right there. You can really see that. And no, it's not a spot that hasn't been stitched. That is, but that's not. So that's the problem with stitching on a dark colored fabric, is it's a lot harder to have a good full coverage. But it's really fun stitching on. Really super cute. I did all of that before everything fell around us. Fell apart around us. Then I was working on this like mad. I was so close to having it done before everything fell apart. And of course, you know, I'm stitching on this, and I'm working on the last row right there. Charles Wascotti. Am I saying that right? I think there was a few other people on Flosstube that like his designs. But here I am. All of this snow or sidewalk, whatever it's supposed to be, is done. The only part I have left is right here, the this color, which is kind of like the shading. It's right up here. But all of it is complete. All this is done. Finished the people here. This was supposed to not be filled in, but like the snowman, I did it in white. I just didn't want the holes to show, even though it's all throughout here. I'm not going to fill that in. So am I done with that? Yeah, I am done with the red. I just need to fill these in and do the horse, and then all the back stitching, which really isn't a whole lot. I did the back stitching for the people, obviously. And this comes into play, those two little yellow spots there. Oh, you probably can't see it. It doesn't show very well. But they're candles. It will have back stitching that will swirl and come up underneath. And it represents candles like headlights back in the day. Then I will be done. Well, I do have to play around with the tree because I didn't stitch it far enough down, or leave the tree and say I don't care. But I don't know when I'll get to it. I'm no longer worried about getting it up for winter this year. It's not important. Just not. So well, that's right. You can see a little picture of it. The old Halloween tree. I like to, if I'm not going to photocopy something and it's in a cover, I like to take the part that shows the symbols, put it on one side, and then on this side here, the chart that I'm working on. So I'm not pulling it in and out of the bag every time that I'm stitching on it, and it protects the chart. So that's the best picture I can show you. But you know what one it is, right? Got it in my bag. My favorite bag. Yeah, that's all. Whoops. Sorry, Charlie. Actually, this one's not Charlie. You're not going to see a lot. I have it loose. But I've been working on that. Just up in here, not a whole lot. Again, it was before. Yeah, I had 2 weeks off, and by the time my husband called and said he was going to urgent care, like I said, it was Friday, and it was the end of my second week. I love stitching on this. So, and I got my key cat from Belinda. Get that in there. This project bag, can't believe how perfect it is. This chart is long. Whoops. Well, you just saw that, didn't you? It's a pretty long chart. You can't even photocopy it. Well, you could in sections, but it doesn't fit in a normal printer, copier. But it fits right there. You couldn't have measured it any better, Linda. Not at all. So let's see if I get the right one. But that's not it. What did I do with it? Oh, it's right in front of my face. That's what I do with it. So Priscilla and Chelsea started the Frosty Forest on the 28th. Was that right? 28th, I believe. You know, and it's the stitch along. I do the same with this. I don't need to photocopy and highlight. The charts are very simple. So again, I put the chart symbols on one side and what I'm stitching on the other. I just fold it. Oh my goodness. There we go. Oh, I almost showed you the chart again. Goodness sakes. This picture doesn't do it justice. It's so faded. I don't know why they do that. You know what? I'm going to put this back later. That's going to take me forever. So on Instagram, I showed a piece of fabric with all the colors. And I'm doing the called for colors. What way am I doing this? I don't know. I should pretty much give myself markers. Okay, I gotta just look at it right. But I showed a piece of fabric that was color dyed, what am I saying? Oh, I need a nap. Coffee tea dyed that I did myself. And then Priscilla and Chelsea did their small little video on the day that everybody was going to start this. And of course, Chelsea made her announcement. And Priscilla had said why she chose a different color fabric that she coffee tea dyed. Because the regular one that she always uses wasn't going to work. Well, that's what I had. I didn't think about it. I just put all the colors together. I took a picture. And then I realized she was right. So I put all the colors back together with my fabric, and it was not going to work. So I ran into my bedroom, my fabric stash, and I got sage brush from Under the Sea Fabrics, and it works perfect. Green, I think this looks just fine. So centering it would have put me somewhere around a couple of words, and I took the time to count all the way over so I could just start on the house, and I started on the roof, as you could see. And this was one of the Gentle Arts called for threads. So I had purchased on purpose, when I got the chart, all the called for threads. So I changed the fabric so I could use those. But that's as far as I got. By then, I was getting the call that my husband was not doing too well. He hadn't been to the hospital yet, I think. All the days blend in together anymore. Together. And then Andy from Nana's Needles said that she was going to start the Santa's Village. That's why I got that other chart. And if anybody wanted to do a stitch along, just let her know and I could join her, or we could join her. And I got on there and said, I've been wanting to do it, and I was thinking about starting the following year, which is now. And I would love to join her. And she said, great, what chart were you going to start with? And I'll start on the same one. And I said, well, I was just going to start as if I was doing one big piece of fabric, but I'm not. I changed my mind, and I'm just doing them individual. But to keep myself in order, I'm just going to go ahead and start with what you would stitch on first with one big piece, which was Santa's house. And she said, great, I'll do the same thing. Well, bless her, she is so incredibly sweet. She told me that every time she picks this up to stitch on it, she is going to pray for my husband, because she also was like me, that we believe in the power of prayer. And so yesterday she said she was picking this piece up again and praying for him. So this is pretty special. So yeah, I'm stitching on this, and I have been working on this when I sit down in the evening, just kind of calm myself down, just relax a little bit, what little relaxing I can do. Can't take my mind off of it, but gives me something to focus on. And so like her, I've been pretty much doing the same thing. So this is how far I got, and I used my coffee tea dye fabric. It works with this one. Started going across, and white, red, white, red, white, red. I needed to break it up, and I counted all the way down to start on some of the roof. I was going to do the symbol that was here. It was a white snowflake. I was going to do the first color on top of the roof. It was white snow. So I had to count that far to start on a totally different color. So this is what I'm stitching on at night. I'm bouncing between this country cottage and the other one. But getting something done for the winter to put up has been really a focus. But my focus goes to a person and not a piece of fabric and thread. So I'm just stitching just to give my hand something to do in the evening. And the lighting in my husband's room, he's in the ICU unit. It's not good for stitching, so I'm not taking anything with me. And I take a book, but I see him move, I go over, I hold his hand. I talk to him. I took my book today and didn't even get anywhere. I didn't even pull it out of my purse. Maybe once he's off the ventilator and he can communicate, I can sit next to him in a chair and stitch or something. And I think that they would probably move him to a regular room once he's stable. And he likes to see me stitch. So he said. Whenever I'm stitching, he comes in and sees, what are you stitching? And he looks at it. I did stitch on this. I can't remember if I showed it to you, but I got the woman all done. It's the second part of the chart. I just don't remember how long ago I stitched on that. But I'm not in any hurry with this one, no matter what. Because remember, that was my weekend stitch. Whoops. Because my weekend was supposed to be on yarn. Knitting, practicing crocheting, my husband's blanket, and if I really got the stitchy bug in the evening, I was going to do this for just a little bit. If not, I wasn't going to stitch. But this is it, and I can show you the chart because it's free, and I put a link on one of my videos. But that's all I've done is her. I think that's it. That's all I've worked on. Oh, I didn't put that back in there. I have some stuff to put away, don't I? So, I lost my thing. I made up a January rotation, but that goes with that. I don't think it's going to happen, but I thought I would read it off to you because at any point where things might get a little bit back to normal, I will pull some of these out. Maybe I'll see where I'm at with some of this other stuff. So my focus really, when I have the time to stitch, which is just in the evening. There's no afternoon stitching. And in the evening, it's like an hour because I'm pretty tired. But this week was going to be Frosty Forest with Priscilla and Chelsea's Stitch Along. And then the evening was going to be Santa's House with Nana's Needles, our Stitch Along. And that was going to be for the first week. And hopefully get it done, at least get Santa's house done, because we're going to do one a month. The second week in January, my afternoon stitch was going to be my scissor fob, the one that I won from Ingeborg from A Stitch Too Far. I was so excited about getting back to that one. I don't know, I just love that pattern. It's, you know, when I first started, it was getting really frustrating because I was trying to get it. And most people you talk to who've stitched that, you end up being off a stitch. You just do. A stitch or two. But it became addicting. Like, I wanted to look for more like that. So I was very anxious about getting started on that again. And then in the evening, I was going to work on my old Halloween tree. I really wanted to get going on that. At this point, I think I'm going to take it out of the Q-snap because it's been in it longer than I like them to be. And there's stitching underneath of that. So I think I'm just going to take it off and keep it in the bag. And if I can grab it, I will. The third week, in the afternoon, if I didn't finish Frosty Forest or Santa's House, I was going to work on that. And if I didn't finish both, I was just going to alternate between the two. one day stitch one day stitch the other. If I was really behind on Santa's house, it was just going to be Santa's house that week, so I could finish it up. I did have the English garden, just in case by some really odd miracle I did finish those two, which I figured I wouldn't. And it would just be mostly, you can see, it is, you see the little green coming up to the flowers. It's doing the green on those two, and then the French knots. And I definitely would have gotten those done in the afternoon for a week. If I talk right. And then in the evening on the third week, I was going to have a new start. Wrong one. Wrong Flosstube. Kay's Cross Stitch. I knew you had a name. She was doing, and I'm not going to be able to say it, pansies in January. Can't say it. And I knew that there was a pansy pattern I really wanted to do. And so it was today that I decided to look for it. I was in my bedroom getting something. I thought I should find that pansy chart. Maybe I'll actually get to stitch it because it's later on into this month. And I pulled this out. It took me some magazines to flip through, and I found it. And this was it. And then I read what it says: pause, relax, renew. And how perfect. Pause, relax, and renew. And for me, and how I feel at this moment in my faith, is just pause in all this chaos, all this, not chaos, but this, pause in this moment. How about if I say it that way? Relax, just breathe it in, and renew. How would I say it? It's like, I don't want to say renew my faith in Christ, but because my faith in Christ is just always there, but I mean, just renew my strength in Him, I guess, in all that is happening, and that know that He's in control. So this is perfect. So I hope I can start stitching this on the third week. I'd love to start it now, but I think that in the third week will probably be perfect, because hopefully I will be able to just take a breather, take a breath, that things will be a lot better for him. I can imagine what he goes through when he's awake and alert and having that down his throat. So he needs to pause, relax, and renew too, I'm sure, in a few weeks, and just like, okay, I can breathe on my own. So the fourth week in the afternoon, I was going to work on my Afghan. Now that the stand that my husband made for me is free and clear and Hazel is done, when I was stitching on that once, I actually removed Hazel and put her somewhere safe. I did not like to take that project off of that stand. Made me very nervous that something would happen to it, so I only did it like once or twice. But I wanted to try it, and I draped the Afghan on there, and I had my small square Q-snap right where I was stitching, and I kind of clamped the Afghan onto it with hair clamps that I have on my hair, so I could stitch double-handed or two-handed, however you say it, and I was able to stitch on that longer because it's so heavy, and with my hands I can't hold on to it more than 45 minutes, and even that length of time I have to let go and really I just relax my hands and I stretch them. So being able to put that on there and leave it on there for a week And I have a big cloth that I use to cover whatever's on there. That'll keep it clean. But hopefully I would be able to stitch a lot longer on it and get that thing done. And then in the evening I was going to stitch on Santa and the bear. I don't know how much of this I'll do. Like I said, right now it's just Santa's house. But I think that's about it. I have nothing else to show you, really nothing else to talk about. The only other thing I think that's happened in our life, we did lose our last kitty cat. That was hard, but she passed, and then everything else went downhill. But she's home next to her brother, so we mourned, we cried, we miss her. But then all this happened with my husband, so. But I'm going to get off of here because I need to call the hospital and check on him. And if he's alert, then I'm going to go and spend a little bit of time with him in the evening. And then come home and get some rest to work tomorrow. So, again, thank you all so much. We really appreciate your thoughts and prayers. And we really appreciate if you could keep them going and keep them strong. And I will keep all of you updated. So, thank you so much. Lots of love to you. And I hope you all have a wonderful upcoming month in January and an upcoming wonderful year, guys. So, yeah, we will see you later. Thanks again. Bye.